Hi, and welcome to the Patreon only extra topics video. And thank you for being like a patron. This is every single time I look at the fact that I have patrons that it's just amazing, and I appreciate it so much. But anyway, instead of the mushy things, I usually don't have like an intro to these videos, and I'm thinking about doing that more often if you're interested, so I can give you like a rough like introduction to it. But this particular time, I wanted to talk about the fact that there are now 7 extra topics in this particular episode. And that's because, well, I was late again to the live stream by like 2 hours, unfortunately. And during the time period of me being late from when I should have been there and when I actually showed up, there was a discussion in the Telegram group where a patron, JP, made us it was a joke. He made a joke reference about since you're late today, does that mean we get an extra topic this week? And at first I kind of dismissed it as like, yeah, that's pretty funny. And I am late a lot. And then after about just a couple minutes, I was like, you know what? Never mind. I like that. I like that idea. We're now going to do one extra topic for the patrons every hour that I am late for the live stream. Now, I hope to never be late again, not because I don't want to do extra work. It's just I don't want to be late to my own show as much as I am. So, anyway, this would give me like some incentive to not have to do extra work because I'm late, right? So, from now on, every hour that I'm late, I'll make an extra topic for every hour for the patrons only. And because I was late 2 hours this time, well, that's 2 extra topics, and that's why there's 7. So let's get to the now 7 extra topics for Patreon only patrons. Up first in the Patreon only topics, Qt 3D Studio 1.0 was released this week. Qt 3D Studio is a creative, interactive 3D presentation and applications editor developing tool. Sweet. I don't know. What's interesting is that this is actually created through the, I guess, donation open source code that was given to them by NVIDIA for the NVIDIA Drive Design Studio, which then converted into the Qt 3D Studio. So, I guess NVIDIA is doing something good somewhere. This week we saw a release for Etcher 1.2.0, and in this release they added improvements for various different issues, but they've also added some cool, interesting features such as being able to display the write speed more accurately, the ability to show the progress and the status of the write in the window title of the application. It also adds a pseudo prompt when you launch Etcher on Linux-based systems, which is, naturally one of the important aspects to it. So you can go ahead and do pseudo-based usage if you want. It adds an optional progress bars to like drive selector drives, so that's cool. And it even increases the speed of the flashing on like USB boot devices. So Etcher 1.2.0 is a much welcomed update, especially considering I think Etcher is probably one of the best writing tools for live USB writes, just available, period. So it's nice to see that it's continued maintenance and updates and improvements and stuff. So the Linux Plumbers Conference 2017 actually occurred in September of this year, but they released the audio recordings of various talks on their website this week. So if you're interested in checking out what the kind of talks they were discussing, you go ahead and do that. If you're not aware of what this particular conference is for, the name Linux Plumbers Conference is referring to the inner workings or the plumbing of Linux as a core system. It's an interesting name for a conference. But these talks for this year were relevant to like the Linux power management and energy awareness, development of kernel live patching, the current state of the UEFI support in the Linux kernel, NVMe, and many more. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can find the links in the Patreon only video description show notes. We've got some news this week from the Libinput development team. Peter Hutterer of Red Hat, which is the Libinput creator, announced that he was working on support for Libinput to handle natively recording and replaying of input events. This is pretty cool because it adds a lot of potential that we currently don't have that could impact the performance of this particular type of approach. We already currently have recording and replaying input events through the kernel's input subsystem with freedesktop.org's EVEMU or EVEMU. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be actually pronounced or not. Anyway, what this actually adds, which is cool, is a lot of things, of course, but like this particular thing is now like the Libinput approach is going to rely on JSON-based data sets. So you could easily extend it with just like modifying the JSON file. It'd also be easier to adopt and deploy this particular feature without having to include it inside of Libinput. So a distro could include it if they want to, or not. This new implementation from Libinput also makes it possible to record and replay multiple input devices simultaneously, which is not currently available through EVEMU. Whatever. It won't matter in the future anyway. So anyway, Libinput update looks pretty interesting, and it's definitely something we need. There's a lot of potential for Libinput overall, so I'm looking forward to that. Raspberry WebKiosk 7.0 was released this week. The WebKiosk is a browser-based or browser-only based operating system for using internet browsing exclusively. So, for example, like a cafe or offices or schools, hospitals, hotels or libraries or something like that could be a use case for this particular type of operating system. It's weird that in their little definition of what this is, they call it a hacker-proof operating system. And, I mean, because it doesn't really do anything, I guess that's kind of possible. So it's just a browser, so it's not really, there's not much to hack, I guess. But anyway, Raspberry Web Kiosk 7.0 is being updated to Raspbian Stretch, and it comes included with a H.264 AVC video acceleration, which that itself is pretty good. That's a nice improvement, and it also has Flash support by default if you wanted them. And it's based on Chromium. I don't know if I said that or not, but it is. And hopefully they'll look into using Firefox Quantum because that's a better browser. Anyway, yeah. Antergos 17.12 was released this week. The ISO refresh was released this week. It's basically just an update to all the components and all the different packages that are a part of the ISO itself. Not necessarily like Cinchi, because Cinchi updates automatically anyway. If you haven't used Antergos before and you're interested in using it, you might want to try this version because there are a few bug fixes for the ISO. Finally this week, for Patreon-only news, vid.me has shut down. Well, not technically yet so far, but it's pretty soon, and they announced that it's going to be fairly soon. And they have shut down the ability to upload new content and things like that. But yeah, this is something I predicted quite a while ago. As soon as I started getting traction, it kind of was the writing was on the wall because the approach that they had was just not practical. They wanted to provide an alternative to YouTube, and they wanted to give incentive to creators, have creator focused, but they wanted to create a limitation for creators that made them not have incentive to switch. So that you could see why that's kind of a problematic approach. So basically, if you're interested about that problem, there was a situation when they set up where if you were a creator and you wanted to move to vid.me, you would have to deal with a restriction of time on your videos and also file size on the videos with a maximum of 30 minutes per file or per video. If you go over that by a second, it will not allow anyone to watch it. And in order to get those limitations removed, you would have to get 50 followers on vid.me. And to do that, you have to first get 50 people on vid.me that are even aware of your content, or move people from YouTube to vid.me. So it just creates a barrier for creators. Like there's no reason for the creator to even want to do that. Like, why? You don't have the audience that YouTube has. You want to put barriers in front of me to even create an audience there, and you expect that to work. They also had some issues with, for example, YouTube has this very tailored advertising system where you can specify like a genre of video you want your content to be in, or keywords, or all kinds of different things. And you can also like restrict what kind of videos are going to be displayed with your ad. So like, and that's also kind of a problem for the adpocalypse. But the issue is that companies are used to that kind of control, and vid.me does not have any of that control because they don't have the ability to specify that kind of level. So companies were just not advertising on vid.me, and therefore vid.me couldn't sustain itself. So like it had multiple levels of writing on the wall that it's going to go. And I kind of just included this in here because it's another thing that I predicted that it was going to happen, and it came true. So, yeah. There you go.